brave moms and brave people that are tuning in today, Tuesday. Today is going to be a quick one. Are we calling it Question Tuesday? Tuesday How To? Maybe was on the
Oh,
table at
How
one point.
to Tuesday?
Yeah.
How to Tuesday. I like that. Yep. Okay.
Uh, Today we're going to discuss power struggles with our kids. This question comes up a lot in our community calls, whether it's someone's day one on their journey in Brave Moms or today, me, 3 years in. I'm always thinking about I'm always thinking about how to refine this. So it's a hot topic, and I can't wait to hear Katie's 2 cents on the matter.
Okay, we're talking about power struggles. I'm making my
Mhm.
lunch, by the way, as well. I'm telling you what, folks, we're hell or high water. We're gonna be live here with you Monday to Friday, okay? So I felt like I was gonna faint and I'm making food while we do this. Let's talk about a power struggle. Alyssa, I'm curious to hear how you would define a power struggle. What's that mean?
I would define it as, in this instance with my child having a belief about something, me having a belief about something, and we're each tugging on each other, trying to move the other one to our side. And it feels like a fight. It feels like, it doesn't feel like unity. It feels like disconnection and misunderstanding and frustration.
Like maybe the most basic belief is like, who's gonna decide what happens here?
Yeah, who's in charge?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Kid thinks they should be deciding what's about to happen here. An adult knows they are responsible to decide what's about to happen here. But it could be anything. You're right. Like, we're arguing over anything. I think of it as like fighting for control, like fighting for control. So I would say the first step is to recognize that you are in control as the parent, because not only are you immovable by someone else unless you decide to be moved, you also get to decide what's coming. So I would say step one is recognizing that I get to decide what I do with my body, my words, my permission to use video games or go outside. So, like, it's actually to recognize how much power I already have. I used to feel threatened by my kids pushing back on me as if they had some power that I don't have, but it's a lie. So I think that's step one. Would you say the same? Like, I need to examine how much power I actually already have, whether or not this person does anything like what I want them to do.
Yeah, it's really hard to do that. But yeah, I would say that's the first step.
And then what
I
would you
can
say?
remember the fear of trying to, ugh, have those conversations with them. I can feel it.
Yeah. So let's try to get an example, um, like a nap. That's a tough one. Someone needs a
Hmm.
nap and they are not going to do it. They do not want to do it. And so there's this, how many of you, it's like you slowly become aware, oh, we're against each other in this. Like, it's not right away. They're just kind of dawdling or doing something else or like bringing up other points or talking to someone else. And then you realize, like, oh, wait, I told you that it's nap time. Um, and so this fear arises, like, what if they don't go do it or what if they won't do it? And then maybe even like the fear of, I might have to move them to enforce this or like get really angry and scare them before they're going to do anything. And then we hate that version of ourselves. Like, I think for me, my fear was about what am I going to do that's not right to my kid right now? Like, and what kind of mom does that make me that A, they're not listening, and B, when I get them to listen, it's because I was out of line. And then I'm going to have to go apologize for that. But I found myself in this cycle of being out of line and then apologizing again and again and again and knowing that something was very wrong. That was like for you.
I would say yes, sometimes. I wasn't always consistent. Sometimes it was more like, oh, I have to explain to them. I have to spend 20 minutes trying to reason with them about why it's good for them until they decide to do it because they know it's good for them.
Yes. And then it's like the anxiety is like, what if this doesn't work? What if they don't buy?
Hmm.
And then what? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna like, I'm gonna call your father. Man, you're gonna have a spanking when you get home, when he gets home. Like, just wait. Should we call him right
Hmm.
now? And like outsourcing authority is, I think, something we do, or like someone else has a bigger authority than me. So I'll just like triangulate my kids against someone else. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, so the first step is to recognize how much power you already have. So my kids don't decide what words come out of my mouth. They don't decide what I do with my body. They don't decide when we have ice cream. They don't decide if they have permission to leave or call someone, or like I have so much power that I was unaware of when I was in those moments, because it feels like someone's about to take the power away from me. And if I'm going to have some, it will be by force and it's ugly and I don't want to. So the first step is, how much power do I actually have and what do I have that power over? Okay. I have the power over what I say. Um, I think that's like, we could stop there and do that work for the next 12 weeks with anyone who's new to this, who's listening, is like, okay, let's just look at what you do have power over. But um, what I would do now for a child who would not go nap is I would create, this is going to sound manipulative, and I'm going to tell you the difference in a minute between when it would be manipulative and when it wouldn't. Okay. What I would do now is create a privilege or allow a privilege that was already going to happen. That privilege would not happen for a child who didn't go nap. And I would try to be sure that it's connected to not getting enough rest. So, hey, after your nap, y'all can play Minecraft for a little while. Or after your nap, we're going to go to Froyo together. Um, like I said, it sounds manipulative, but what would be manipulative is if I needed the leverage to have that kind of authority. When it's not manipulative is when I'm okay either way. So manipulation is a coercive effort to get power. If you don't need power over somebody, you're not manipulating them when you invite them to make a good choice that will help them. So I would either remove a privilege that was already coming. I would be like, hey, everyone who naps, because we were already going to do it, is going to Froyo after. And then this is the hard part, I think, for so many women. So you tell me how you experience this. And then if they choose not to, like she goes in her room and she plays for an hour while everyone else gets rest, then this is like so, so sad because we are all still going to Froyo and you are not having any. And I think learning to meet my kids in that sadness was actually where our connection really grew and where that trust was built. Like, I'm actually so sad about this with you. Um, so I would use power over me, allow or create a privilege for people who make a good choice that's beneficial for them, completely release the outcome, which I think is maybe the next very hard part, and then follow through and then express empathy. So that's the way out of any power struggle. And man, I wish we had hours to like run a ton of examples and get really specific with people. So if you have one, throw an example in the chat. We can run one next Tuesday on How
Um,
to Tuesday. But tell me, yeah, what's in your head?
One thing that's coming to mind, because this was the key to me figuring out when my heart was using it for manipulation versus like actually letting them experience their outcome is, um, I hope that makes sense. It didn't really
Yeah.
make sense to me when I said it, but in the end, when it had to have that poor outcome, miss out on that thing, if my heart was really sad and I almost didn't want to follow through, like I was so sad that I didn't want to follow through, I thought, okay, this is right. Like this needs to happen. When it was a case where I maybe thought of the same type of outcome, but it was more like, oh, you just wait. When you don't do this, is going to happen to you. It was more like a punishment mentality. I'm like, okay, that's not the right heart posture. But my example was my family and I were at a water park this winter, and the whole weekend, the rule was you need to be with mom or dad or you need to swim with a buddy. We have 4 kids, so they could pair off. Like if you can't be alone because we need to keep an eye on each other at the pool. They're all good swimmers, but we don't want to be alone. And at one point, it was the last day swimming, and we still had like an hour left to swim before the pool was going to close down. And we couldn't find my youngest, my 8-year-old. And we kind of waited a few minutes for her to come by in the lazy river. She wasn't coming. She wasn't coming. And so finally, we all take off in different directions going to look for her. We're walking all over. And it took a good 10 minutes for us to find her. And I I was like not in panic, because talking to the Lord about it, but also I was getting frustrated with her. And I was trying to prep, like, okay, I know we're gonna find her. She is my little independent one, and she's just off talking to a new friend that she made, or she thinks she can go down the water slide by herself, or whatever. Like I know she's a good swimmer. So I'm walking around and prepping myself, like, okay, when I find her, I don't want to be angry and come down on her in anger and shame her, but she needs to learn a lesson. There has to be an outcome for her not following this very important rule is for her good. And we ended up finding her. Sure enough, she was heading down the water slide multiple times after multiple times. And she knew where we were, so she didn't really feel it necessary to let us know where she was. Um, and I very calmly said, I'm so glad you're safe. What was the rule when we came into this water park? And she's like, I don't know what. I said, the rule has been all weekend that you are to swim with a buddy. And I said, I'm really sad, but we're done swimming now. She was devastated. My husband even looked at me with like sad eyes, like, oh no, you're really gonna do that to her? I'm like, we're gonna go back to the room and shower. We're gonna be done. I said, I'm so sad about it. And I felt so bad, but I also felt that conviction of like, this is a really important moment for her to learn this lesson because she's gonna be so, so sad. And it's all because she chose not to follow through with the rule. And so I did it and I felt really bad about it. And that's how I knew it was a good thing.
Oh my gosh, that's a great example. That is such a great example. And it's gutting. It's so gutting. But when she is potentially going to decide to sleep with her significant other when she's 17, she's not going to have someone squawk at her, yell at her, and try to get her out of the pending pregnancy she's probably going to face. And so to not allow our kids to go through those things is to literally not prepare them for life. And I think it's easier in the moment to yell at her about the rule, correct her, and get her to fix it. But there's a bunch of stuff that goes wrong there. A, you're carrying the motor or the motivation for her. You're carrying the weight of her decisions, the energy it takes to get someone to do the right thing. God only gave us enough energy for us. So, and to support other people learning, but He did not give you her motor. It's her motor. So, number one, you'd be living in that all the time. Number two, she learns that what we do in love and that what God does with us, because our kids frame who they see God as they frame it in as their experience of their parents. So then they think if God's not down here squawking at me and smacking me in the hand and trying to get me to do something different, I must be okay. Which clearly she was not making a good choice. So later on, that math doesn't work out. And then she's not prepared to face the big feelings of when really hard things do happen to her and take responsibility for her part in that if she doesn't practice that under your roof. So, wow, I didn't know that we were going to do like that. It's that big of a picture on this one topic of like, get out of a power struggle. It's really like the heart and soul of what we're doing in Brave Moms is honoring the freedom of the people that we love and learning how to respond and invite them to greatness rather than harass them into doing the right thing, which is terrible for everybody. And I think the other thing that comes to mind, which was a huge part of why Brave Moms was created, is it also would set her up for relationships where we stay super close, but we tell each other all the time that we're not happy with each other, which is like completely toxic. So you're modeling for her and allowing her to experience like what a really healthy adult relationship is, which is, hey, you're free to do what you're going to do, and I'm going to take care of me. And in that safety and health, we can collaborate and have unity. Huge. Oh my goodness. We hit a vein. Um, it seems like you need to go. I'm going to finish my lunch. Want to wrap us up? Give us a send off.
Oh man, the send off that's just the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. Okay. Monday, May 4, 9 a.m. PST, Monday to Friday, all the way through July 10. We will be here. Real Talk, Brave Moms Academy Live. We're going to do all kinds of topics, how-tos. We're going to have guests. We're going to tell stories from inside the room at Brave Moms Academy. And We would just absolutely love to hear you tune in and to hear your questions. We are happy to have you tune in and we want to hear your questions. So anything you hear us talk about in these live streams, pop a question in the chat because we will bring it to tomorrow's call and we will respond to you. So be brave. You are